Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, I never do this kind of thing. Sure, if you're ever on a date and you just hooked up with a girl that you just met, maybe you had a first date, or you just met her that particular night, and afterwards as you're laying there having your celebratory smoke or whatever it happens to be, and she said, I never do this kind of thing. Well, I've got an email here from a guy who, it's interesting because he's doing well with interacting. He's only been following me for a few months now, interacting with women in general, starting conversations, and he's obviously a very social person. And so he went out. He went to this party recently. He was talking to women all night long. This girl comes up to him at towards the end of the night after because he's just constantly talking with other women and just being the life of the party, just getting to know everybody that's there and having a good time. And this girl, one of the first ones he talked to when he got there, which he was pretty sure was into him, literally comes up to him, grabs him, and starts making out with him. So he goes, sets a date on the spot, goes out with a few days later. She's a little more reserved on the date. And then afterwards, literally the next day, another girl that he had met at that same party texts him. And so they meet up. He ends up hooking up with her. But the thing is, now they're kind of in the same social circle. So he's like, what do I do? I mean, what happens if they find out about each other? How should I handle it? Should I go and apologize to this girl on our second date? Oops, I slept with your, that hot friend of yours or whatever. So I got a quote that I wrote on this topic, because if you're going to apply the things that you teach in my book, then these kinds of things are going to happen, and you need to know how to handle it, because you can put your foot in your mouth really quick. So the quote says, women are often competitive and sometimes ruthless when they like the same guy. The reality is that women are more attracted to men who are popular with women in general. They are less attracted to men who are not very successful with women. Women who have a healthy self-esteem and a high level of confidence are not intimidated by other female competition. They have the attitude that they are better and will get the guy they really want. Women who lack self-confidence and who have a low self-esteem will get angry, jealous, possessive, controlling, and pissed off at a guy when she wants him, but he has other options. A gentleman never kisses and tells, and he never brags about his sexual exploits to a woman he is interested in. But the bottom line is that he will have many more dating options and much more female interest when women know that he is popular with the ladies. Since his reputation precedes him, there is no need to brag about his success or apologize for it either. Remember what Steve McQueen said, I live for myself and I answer to nobody. Doesn't mean you're a selfish jackass. It just means you live to make yourself happy first, and you don't answer to anybody. So let's go through his email. He says, hey Corey, I've been following your work for the past 3 months, and it has really helped me change my outlook on dating and life in general. I appreciate all your help, so keep up the good work. Thank you. He says, I'm 30 years old and I have recently broken up with my long-term girlfriend. And ever since, I have been concentrating on my personal and career goals, focusing on being positive, charming, and genuine to all those who I meet. This has been very effective in building rapport with people, particularly women. You think? I went to a party last weekend, and a cute brunette I knew there was interested in me, always talking to me, touching me, and putting herself into my orbit. It's like one of the things that Doc Love says. I think it's great. He says, when kitty cats compete, you win. It's not about rubbing another woman in another woman's face, or because gentlemen don't talk about these things, especially like when you're on dates and women start pressing you about your relationship history. It's keep it positive. But at the end of the day, it's never going to end well if you start talking about how many sexual partners you've had, how many dates you've been on, how many girlfriends you've had, how long all those relationships have lasted. It's just not a good conversation, because somebody is going to get butthurt or offended or upset. And it's just best to say, you know what, I've had a lot of great relationships, I've dated a lot of great women, and they made me into the man I am today, but I'm not interested in sitting here and giving you a report on every single girl I ever kissed or been out with. Most women are not going to ask about things in that way, but some women will, and it's just best not to get into it, because it's not going to help your case. You just say, I appreciate your interest and your curiosity, but gentlemen don't kiss and tell. It's like you wouldn't like it if we dated and we hooked up, then I went and bragged to all of my friends about you and what you were like in bed, would you? Well, of course not. That's why whatever happens between you and I is going to stay between you and I, unless we both decide that we want to share our wonderful experiences with other people. I was talking to a lot of girls that night and just genuinely having a good time, and seemed to have gained the interest of several girls at the party. Because what's different? What's different about him? Every guy is running around doing laps at the party, trying to talk to girls and pick girls up. And he's just talking and he's having a good time because he has a good time wherever he goes. And the women that really like him, they'll chase after him. They'll approach him. It's like if you've ever watched the video that I did, Body Language That Attracts Women, or read the article that I wrote, How to Get Women to Approach You First, especially like in public. It works so well just by focusing on having a good time and exhibiting the body language and physiology and the vibe that I talk about in the video, Body Language That Attracts Women. I mean, you can watch that one video and read that one article, especially if you like to go out and party and do those things, and just go out and hang out with your friends, and you'll have women coming up to you all night long, and you can watch all the other suckers walking around doing fucking laps at the bar, yet women are constantly approaching you and your group. And as the night goes on, more and more women will approach you. It's like, why chase after them when they'll actually come up to you? Because they want to get away from all the guys that don't know what they're fucking doing and that are creepy and weird. The guys that are in essence just fucking waving their dick around in their face all the time. He says, towards the end of the night, I was dancing with a group of girls when the one that was very interested in me decided enough was enough and came straight up to me and started kissing me. Isn't that interesting? He's the life of the party. He's friendly. He's an equal opportunity seducer, if you will. I mean, think about it. If you got lots of choices and lots of options, there's lots of women at a party or an event or a trade show or whatever happens to be, and you want to make sure you get the very best one, you're going to interact with as many women as possible because you want somebody that really wants to be with you, that really wants to make the effort to make you feel wanted and desired. So you're going to take your time. You're not going to make your decision right away. And especially if you're going to know you're going to be at a party for several hours, this works to your advantage. I mean, look what happens here. This girl watches him interacting with all these other women all night long, and she realizes that if she doesn't do something about it, some other girl probably will. He says, I got her number and arranged a date for later that week. She was a lot more, and he noticed he made a date. I mean, it's good. He got her number right away. She was a lot more reserved in a date, but asked me a lot of questions and let me take the lead, which I took as a good sign. So far, so good. I went for the kiss at the end of the date, but nothing more. This is the very next night. After the date, I was at a bar at a private function room for a group function. One of the girls, a gorgeous redhead, I love redheads too, from the party the previous week, was in the bar and texting me that she wanted to see me. Oh, what a conundrum. So I brought her up to the function room and we had a great time. We started making out, and before you know it, she was naked in my bed saying to me, how did you manage this? I never do this kind of thing. And he says, yeah, right. Well, it's probably kind of true because most guys talk her out of liking them. And to her, it's like, plus, remember, women don't want any responsibility for sex. It has to be the guy's fault. What's so interesting, I was reading a psychological study the other day, and they were looking at men and women, really teenagers, and like what the effect is of them becoming sexually active. And what's interesting about this is that women who became sexually active and had multiple partners tended to have less friends. Guys who were sexually active tended to have more friends, but guys who were not very sexually active actually had less friends. In other words, their group of peers tended to shrink. But women who weren't as sexually active and didn't sleep around, actually their peer group expanded. I mean, it's a total fucking double standard in our society. It's because, the bottom line is, if a girl's perceived as being sleeping around or being loose, she's like a pariah. But if a guy does, hey, stud, come hang out with us. It's the sad reality of the way things are. He says this girl was only in town a short time, so was just looking for a good time, not a long time, which is fine by me. Hey, she made all the work. The doors open and you literally just had to walk through them. Both times, both situations, the girls approached him. And the one girl comes up and kisses him. And he's not really doing anything except having fun. And the other girl tracks him down and is like, hey, I want to see you. He says, however, they are both from similar friend circles and will more than likely find out about each other. When kitty cats compete, you win. I still want to date the brunette girl, as this has potential to progress into a relationship. Slow your roll, dude. You had one fucking date with this girl. You don't really even know. And you also said yourself that she was reserved. Who's more fun to be with, the reserved girl or the girl who's just easy to be with and you hook up that night? It's more fun to be with a girl who doesn't hold back. Women who are structured are, it's like, no thank you. I'm not. And guys who go, well, I think a girl doesn't sleep with me on the first date. Guys that say shit like that are usually not getting laid. But the bottom line, it's just nice when things are easy and effortless. You both like each other and you act upon what feels right to you. When you have enough experience, that's usually where you're going to be. And people that are like, I want a girl who's been with a few people. When that's that big a deal, that's something you usually get from religion or rules that society teaches. But at the end of the day, it's more fun and it's easier to be in a relationship with somebody that's easygoing and doesn't hold back. Women who are holding back in the very beginning, it just shows you what their character is. They're operating from a set of rules and they're not listening to and following what their feelings and what their heart is communicating to them. I'm not exclusive with either girl, so I am technically free to date anyone. Abso-fucking-lutely. And the bottom line is, like I said in the quote, gentlemen don't kiss and tell. It's really none of their business. And even if she does find out and says, hey, I heard you hooked up or slept with so-and-so. It's like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, so-and-so told me that you guys slept together. It's like, well, even if I did or I didn't, gentlemen don't kiss and tell. So, hey, how about them Yankees? Change the subject. And if she presses you, I want to say, look, I'm not interested. And, I'm not going to, what happens between you and I don't talk about that to other people. It's nobody's business but our business. And like I said, anybody else that I've ever dated, I don't talk about those things. Obviously, you wouldn't like it if I went out and bragged to everybody about what a great kisser you were on our first date, and then I got around how passionately you made out with me, or that maybe you gave me a blowjob in the car, or we had great sex in my car, or back in my place, or whatever, would you? So I don't talk about those things, gentlemen. Just simply don't do that. That kind of an explanation, that's as far as you need to go. And women, I've never had a woman press me on that, beyond that. They like to, go ask 100 women, do you like a guy who can keep his mouth shut, or do you like a guy who brags about what he does with you? And they'll all tell you, it's like, I like a guy who can keep things to himself. Because remember, women are worried in our society about being labeled a slut. And so if they know that they're going to hook up with a guy who's going to keep his mouth shut, then that guy is going to get laid, versus a guy that they know is always bragging and talking about everything. That guy's going to have a harder time about it, because they know if they do hook up with him, then everybody's going to know about it pretty quickly. He says, however, I don't think she will appreciate it. Well, it's none of her fucking business. You went on one date and you kissed her once, and you said so yourself that she was very reserved in the date and she was holding back. This other girl was not holding back. She was into you, she approached you, she made it easy. That's what you want. Relationships are difficult and they can be really hard, and you got to have somebody that's a good communicator. And when you're dating somebody who's always holding back, it's just a pain in the ass. And the older you get and the more experience that you have, when you spot that kind of a behavior, women who are holding back or following a set of rules, it's just, I don't have time for that shit in my life. 45 years old. Thanks, but no thanks. Let somebody else deal with that. Shall I bring it up? Hell no. It's none of her fucking business. This is between you and the redhead and nobody else. And if she presses you on, again, hey, gentlemen don't kiss and tell. And whether I did or I didn't date her or sleep her, it's like, it's none of your business. I'm sorry. We've been out on one date, and no, I don't talk about what I've done on other dates or other girlfriends, because it's between me and them. It's our relationship. It has nothing to do with you and I. Should I not say anything? Exactly. You shouldn't say anything. He says, should I apologize to her on our second date? Let me think about that for a second. Oh, hey, I got to be honest. That hot redhead that was at the same party I was talking? Well, I fucked her the next night after our first date and you and I kissed. She's like, that's going to go over like a lead fucking balloon. Think it through, dude. It's women like guys who are mysterious. And when they don't know, it's just better. Trust me. Or if you don't believe me, go on a second date with this brunette and say, hey, that fucking redhead? Yeah, I banged her the next night after you and I went out. Because she texted me, we met up, we started making out, and then one thing led to another, and an hour or two later, we were naked in my bedroom in the Indoor Olympics. It was great. But since she doesn't live here in town, I didn't really think it's going to go anywhere because I really like you, and I hope you don't mind that I was fucking somebody else the next night. But I just had to get that off my chest because that's what I saw in my favorite movie. My favorite actor did that in a movie I saw recently. And it went really well for the guy in the movie, so hey, probably throw a drink in your face and be like, you're a pig. Keep it to yourself. An old Indian proverb, if tribe not to know, keep mouth shut. Women like guys who can keep their mouth shut. I'm not used to this amount of female attention. Well, you're reading my book and you're applying it. What the fuck do you expect was going to happen? I mean, look at the reviews on Amazon, dude. They speak for themselves. I mean, look at the results you're getting here. And it's like I say to guys all the time, you got to prepare for the logistics of sex. Think about it. When you go out, it's like, what happens if I run into a girl that I like? Am I prepared with condoms? Do I have a place to go? You got to think about these things ahead of time. I can't count the number of emails I've gotten over the years from guys who are like, I can't believe how well this stuff worked, but we were an hour away from my house, so there was really nowhere to go to hook up. And I was like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. He says, how do you date multiple women without hurting or upsetting them? Well, again, you've been out on one date, and what typically happens is that in this kind of situation here, you hooked up with this girl. She just doesn't sound like she even lives there anyway, so you may not see her for a while. And you don't know what's going to happen with this girl. Again, you've been out on one date. You've kissed her. You might end up hooking up with this girl, and after the third or fourth date, whenever it happens, she might be terrible in bed. You're like, that's no fun. So you don't know what you don't know. I mean, think about it. When you want to buy a new car, what do? You don't just buy it off the internet and let it get delivered. You want to go test drive the thing. So why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? I mean, come on, dude. Why make it hard on yourself? You shouldn't feel guilty about this. Because at the end of the day, women do it all the fucking time. And that's why she said, notice what she said, the redhead, as they're laying naked in bed. How did you manage this? I never do this kind of thing. And she's saying, hey, it's not my fault. It just kind of happened. It's all your fault. I didn't do nothing. I was just laying there, and then somehow your dick ended up inside me. Women don't want any responsibility for that, man. So take the responsibility for it. If you want to seduce a girl, again, I described this in detail in my book. He says, I appreciate any advice or feedback. Feel free to do a video newsletter on this topic. Well, thanks for the email. But like I said, I wouldn't mention anything about it. And, I mean, fair is fair. I mean, you don't know who she's dating either. She could be dating 2 or 3 other guys and sleeping with all 3 of them. I mean, most women are like that. They're not going to tell you either. They're not going to tell you what's going on or who they're dating or where they're going or who they're with. They're keeping their options open too. So it's just most guys don't do that. Most guys, they go out on a date with one girl and they become exclusive with her, even though the girl might be dating 2 or 3 other guys. So it's like, keep your options open and may the best woman win. You want a woman with a great attitude, a woman who's flexible, a woman who's very affectionate, very giving, who's a great communicator. And if you want to have an exclusive relationship, then she has to be somebody who places a high value on loyalty, commitment, communication, has a good relationship with her mom and her dad. She loves both of her parents. That is what you want to look for. Not some chick that's giving you a fucking hard time about who you've dated and who you hooked up with. It's none of her fucking business. Any more than it's any of your business who she dates and hooks up with. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.